I had been working as a security officer in California for years, and I had seen my fair share of strange things. But nothing could have prepared me for the night that I saw the creature on the CCTV footage. It was a slow night at the office building where I worked, and I was doing my rounds when I noticed something odd on one of the monitors. At first I thought it was just a glitch in the system, but then I saw it again. A strange animalistic figure was moving through the shadows, its movements almost too fluid and graceful to be natural. My heart racing, I moved closer to the screen, trying to get a better look at the creature. It seemed to be covered in fur or feathers, and its eyes glowed a bright, piercing green. I couldn't tell what kind of animal it was. It seemed almost too large to be a normal creature. As I watched, the creature seemed to sense my presence, and it turned its head to look directly into the camera. Its eyes bore into mine, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew in that moment that I was looking at something beyond my understanding, something paranormal and malevolent. I tried to radio for backup, but the words caught in my throat. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to look away from the creature on the screen. It seemed to be calling to me, drawing me in with its otherworldly power. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature vanished from the screen, leaving me alone in the dark office. I sat there for a long time trying to make sense of what I had seen. Was it a trick of the light, or had I really seen something paranormal and otherworldly? Over the next few weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I would hear strange noises in the building, and I would catch glimpses of movement out of the corner of my eye. It was like the creature had marked me, and it was haunting me even when I was off duty. One night, as I was leaving the building, I felt a sudden gust of wind. I turned around, and there, standing in the shadows, was the creature from the CCTV footage. It was even more terrifying up close. Its eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly fire, and its fur bristled as it let out a low growl. I knew then that I had to act fast if I was going to survive. I drew my taser and aimed it at the creature, hoping that it would be enough to drive it away, but the creature only laughed, a sound that was both inhuman and mocking, and then it lunged at me, its teeth bared and its claws slashing through the air. I managed to dodge its first attack, but it was relentless, and soon I was backed up against the wall. Just when I thought it was all over, I remembered the talisman that my grandmother had given me. It was a powerful symbol of protection, imbued with ancient magic and warding spells. With shaking hands, I reached into my pocket and drew out the talisman, holding it up to the creature. Instantly, there was a blinding flash of light, and the creature recoiled, letting out a deafening roar. It seemed to be struggling against some invisible force, its body writhing and twisting as if in agony. And then, just as suddenly as it had attacked, the creature vanished, leaving behind only the lingering scent of sulfur and brimstone. I was left alone in the darkness, my heart pounding and my hands shaking with adrenaline. As I walked home that night, I knew that my life had been forever changed by the encounter with the creature. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victim. Over the next few weeks, I tried to put the incident out of my mind. I told myself that it was just a trick of the light, or maybe a hallucination brought on by stress and lack of sleep. But deep down, I knew the truth, that I had come face to face with something beyond my understanding, something that defied all logic and reason. And then, one night as I was settling in for bed, I heard a strange scratching sound coming from outside my window. I got up to investigate, feeling a sense of dread rising in my chest. And there, outside my window, was the creature, its eyes glowing in the darkness, its teeth bared in a feral snarl. I knew then that there was no escaping the creature's wrath. It had marked me as its prey, and it would stop at nothing to claim me as its own. But I was not without weapons of my own. I had the talisman, and I had my wits about me. With a deep breath, I drew the talisman from my pocket and held it up to the window. The creature recoiled, its body writhing in pain as it struggled against the magic of the talisman. I knew then that I had the upper hand, and I vowed to never let my guard down again. From that day forward, I became obsessed with the creature. I studied every book and article I could find on the subject of skinwalkers and paranormal creatures, hoping to find some clue that would help me defeat the creature once and for all. And then, one day, I found it. A rare tome, hidden away in the archives of an ancient library. It contained a spell, a powerful incantation that could banish even the most malevolent of spirits. With trembling hands, I recited the incantation, feeling the power of the words coursing through me. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the creature was gone, banished from this world forever. I knew then that I had conquered my fear, and that I had defeated the creature that had haunted me for so long. But I also knew that I would never forget the experience, that it would stay with me, a reminder of the power of the unknown and the importance of being prepared for anything. I've been a security officer for over a decade now, and I've seen my fair share of strange things. But nothing could have prepared me for what I witnessed in the stairwell of a mall in California. It started out like any other day. I was doing my rounds, checking the doors and making sure everything was secure. But as I approached the stairwell, I noticed something odd. The air felt thick, heavy, almost suffocating. And then I heard a strange whispering sound, like voices speaking in hushed tones. I drew my flashlight and cautiously entered the stairwell, scanning the area for any signs of danger. But as I climbed the stairs, the whispering grew louder, more insistent. And then I saw it, a shadowy figure, lurking in the corner, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. I knew then that I was dealing with something beyond my understanding, something that defied all logic and reason. But I also knew that I couldn't just ignore it. I had a duty to protect the people who shopped and worked in the mall, which meant confronting the unknown. With a deep breath, I stepped forward, holding my flashlight out before me like a shield. The figure recoiled, its form shifting and changing in the dim light. It seemed to be trying to communicate with me, to tell me something important. But I couldn't understand it. The words were garbled, distorted, like they were coming from another world. And then, with a sudden burst of energy, the figure lunged forward, its body twisting and contorting in unnatural ways. I felt a cold hand wrap around my throat, squeezing tightly, cutting off my air supply. For a moment I thought I was done for. But then, with a burst of adrenaline, I summoned all my strength and pushed back against the figure. It recoiled, surprised by my sudden burst of energy, and then vanished into thin air. I stumbled backward, gasping for breath, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that I had encountered something truly otherworldly, something that had no place in our reality. Over the next few days, I tried to make sense of what had happened. I read books and articles on the paranormal, trying to find some explanation for what I had witnessed. And then, one night, I had a breakthrough. I stumbled upon a passage that described a spirit that was known to haunt stairwells and other narrow spaces. It was said that this spirit was attracted to negative energy, and that it fed on the fears and anxieties of those who encountered it. But it was also noted that it could be banished with a powerful ritual, one that required the use of special herbs and incantations. With renewed purpose, I set out to learn everything I could about this ritual. I tracked down the herbs and studied the incantations, practicing them over and over again until I knew them by heart. And then, one night, I returned to the stairwell, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. I could feel the spirit's presence all around me, its whispers echoing in my ears like a siren's song. But I was ready for it this time. I held out the herbs and recited the incantations, feeling the power of the words coursing through me. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the spirit was gone, banished from this world forever. I knew then that I had conquered my fear, and that I had banished the darkness from the mall forever. But I also knew that I would never forget the experience, that it would stay with me, a reminder of the power of the unknown and the importance of being prepared for anything. After that experience, I started to pay more attention to the strange occurrences that happened in the mall. I realized that there were many other areas that seemed to be haunted, but the stairwell was by far the most active. I began to document my experiences, taking note of every strange sound, every flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. I tried to understand the patterns of the hauntings, looking for any clues that might help me make sense of what was happening. And then, one day, I stumbled upon something that made my blood run cold. I was reviewing the CCTV footage from the mall, trying to spot any anomalies, when I saw it. A figure, lurking in the shadows of the stairwell, its features obscured by the dim light. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the camera, a glitch in the system. But then I saw it again, and again, and again. The figure seemed to be getting bolder, more brazen, appearing more frequently and for longer periods of time. I knew then that I had to act fast. I couldn't let this thing continue to haunt the mall, terrorizing the shoppers and workers who depended on it for their livelihoods. So I started to do more research, trying to find out everything I could about the history of the mall and the land it was built on, and that's when I stumbled upon a disturbing fact. The mall had been built on top of an old cemetery, one that had been abandoned for over a century. I knew then that I had uncovered the root of the haunting. The spirits of the dead had been disturbed by the construction of the mall, and they were lashing out in anger and confusion. Armed with this knowledge, I set out to make things right. I reached out to a group of paranormal investigators, and together we planned a ritual to cleanse the mall of its negative energy and banish the spirits once and for all. It was a dangerous mission, one that required us to navigate the treacherous terrain of the afterlife. But we were determined to see it through, no matter the cost. We gathered in the stairwell, the place where the hauntings were the most intense, and began to chant the incantations that would banish the spirits. The air grew thick and heavy, and the shadows began to writhe and twist in response to our power. But we persisted, channeling all of our energy into the ritual, and then, with a sudden burst of light, the spirits were gone, banished to the realm of the dead, where they could rest in peace. From that day on, the mall was a different place. The air was clear and light, and the shoppers and workers went about their business with a sense of ease and comfort. But I knew that I could never forget what had happened there, the darkness that had lurked in the corners of the mall. It was a reminder that there were forces beyond our understanding, and that sometimes the only way to conquer them was to confront them head-on. I was patrolling the quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of town, checking for any signs of trouble, when I saw him, a small boy, wandering aimlessly down the street. He looked lost and confused, his face streaked with tears. I knew then that I had to act fast. I pulled over to the side of the road and got out of my cruiser, approaching the boy with caution. "Hey there, little guy," I said gently. "Are you okay? Do you need some help?" The boy looked up at me with big, watery eyes, and I could see the fear and uncertainty in his gaze. I knew then that he was lost, and that he needed my help to find his way back home. I tried to calm him down, assuring him that everything was going to be all right. But as I reached out to take his hand, I felt a sudden chill run down my spine. It was as if a cold breeze had blown through the air, carrying with it a sense of foreboding and danger. I looked around, trying to figure out what had caused the sudden shift in atmosphere, and that's when I saw it. A dark figure, lurking in the shadows of the nearby woods. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, or a trick of the light, but as I stared at it, I realized that it was something far more sinister, a ghostly apparition, with glowing eyes and a twisted, contorted face. I knew then that I was dealing with something beyond my understanding, something that I was ill-equipped to handle on my own. But I couldn't leave the boy alone, not when he was in such obvious distress. So I picked him up in my arms, holding him close as I made my way back to my cruiser. But as I did, I felt the dark presence following us, its malevolent energy growing stronger with each passing moment. I knew then that I had to act fast. I got the boy settled in the back of my car, making sure he was safe and secure, and then I raced off towards the nearest police station, hoping to find some backup. As I drove, I could feel the dark presence getting closer, its energy suffusing the air around us. It was as if it was trying to reach out and touch us, to drag us down into the abyss. But I refused to let that happen. I pushed the accelerator to the floor, racing down the deserted streets with a sense of purpose and determination. And then, just as I thought we were doomed, I saw a glimmer of light in the distance, the neon sign of a nearby church. Without thinking, I pulled into the parking lot, skidding to a stop just in front of the entrance. And then, with a sudden burst of courage, I grabbed the boy and ran inside, seeking sanctuary in the hallowed halls of the church. As I burst through the doors, I could feel the dark presence receding, its power waning in the face of the holy ground. And then, with a sudden burst of light, it was gone, banished to the realm of the dead where it could do no more harm. I collapsed to the ground, exhausted but relieved. The boy was safe, and I had faced down a dark force that was beyond my understanding. It was a reminder that there were things in this world that we couldn't explain, things that went bump in the night. But it was also a reminder that there was hope, that even in the darkest of moments we could find the strength to stand up and fight back.